What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing today? You're watching the life of Dustin and Allison. I'll be posting this video to Facebook and YouTube. If you found this video on YouTube, you're watching the life of Dustin and Allison. This is mine and my wife's YouTube channel. We do videos all the time. We do different little vlogs. Sometimes our vlogs last 5 minutes. Sometimes they last 2 hours and 5 minutes. We do all kind of funny little videos. I do a lot of videos speaking on my faith in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I do college football videos. And today, this is what this video is. It's a college football video. It's a preview and a prediction as the Georgia Bulldogs are headed down to Tuscaloosa to get ready to play the Alabama Crimson Tide coming up here in just a few short days. I know everybody has had this one circled for a long time. You know, Georgia knew that we had Clemson to start the year. Alabama knew, that they were going to. Georgia knew that we had Clemson to start the year. They knew that we were going to go down and play Kentucky at home. Alabama knew that they were going to go and play two nobodies, two high school teams, and then go up to play Wisconsin. But everybody knew what was coming in Week 5 because after Week 3, Alabama and Georgia both have a bye week before playing each other. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now, if you're like faint of heart, if you're going to get all offended, if you're going to get your feelings hurt, this isn't the video. This isn't the video you're going to want to watch because I've been preparing for this one for a long time. I've been preparing my whole life for this. No, but this is a trash talk video. This is going to be a trash talk video, and this is going to be a video of me predicting what I actually believe is going to happen in the football game. So Georgia has went on to play the Clemson Tigers. They blew them out of the water, 34-3. Georgia has played Tennessee Tech at home, beat them 48-3. And then we had a close game last week on the road at Kentucky, and we beat Kentucky 13-12. Alabama has, well, like I said, they played two high school teams. They played, I believe it was Western Kentucky at home, and then they played South Florida at home. And then they played Wisconsin on the road. Both teams are 3-0 going into the game. So Georgia this week, they're going into play. You already know who they're going to play. They're going in there to play I'm not a smart man, but I do know what love is. We're headed on the road to play I think you should go back home to Greenbow, Alabama. That's who we're going to play this week. Georgia is going on the road to play my home's in Alabama. Even though I've lived in Georgia my whole life. My home's in Alabama, even though I've only been there twice, or maybe thrice. Have I been to Alabama? Have I been there more than 2 times in my life? I don't know. That's what Georgia is going on the road to play. You already know, if you're a Georgia fan, how completely irrational and delusional this entire, and I do mean this entire fan base. I used to do this thing where I used to say, like 90% of Alabama fans are crazy. They're just absolutely insane. They have no idea what they're talking about ever. And then I also did this thing where I'd say like 5% of them are actually true fans, where they actually care. No, the entire fan base is completely delusional. Okay, I'm just gonna say some things in this video that might hurt some people's feelings, but I'm shooting it straight with you. I'm being dead honest with you. I'm telling you the 100% truth right here in this video. This is not opinions. These are absolute facts. I'm gonna tell you the whole deal with Alabama fans. The whole reason that they don't know anything about their team or what they're talking about anyway, when it comes to actually talking about football, they have nothing to offer. They don't even know. I guarantee you, over half the fan base can't even tell you the name of their head coach right now. I guarantee you half the fan base cannot even tell you 3 players from the past 5 years that's even been on their football team. You want to know why? It's because Alabama fans, the whole reason that they're Alabama fans has nothing to do with football. The whole reason that they became an Alabama fan is because in actual life, they're the type of people that they have to be opposite of everybody else. They have to do something completely different. They were born and raised in Georgia. You know, they woke up one day and everybody in their family was a Georgia fan. There was a couple Tennessee fans, a couple of Auburn fans. There wasn't any Florida fans. There were literally zero Florida Gators fans. So they looked up one day and they wanted to be completely opposite of their family and their friends and everybody they were around. So they looked up around 2009, whenever NASCAR started going downhill, whenever NASCAR didn't matter anymore, and you know, NASCAR started being really boring. They looked up and said, well, what's next? What else is there out there to offer? And they looked up and they seen this team in Alabama, the Alabama Crimson Tide, and they were at the time the #1 team in the country. They were just incredible, unstoppable. They had this coach, you know, he's the greatest coach of all time, Nick Saban. Even though Kirby Smart has already broken almost over half of Nick Saban's current records, and Kirby's only been at Georgia for 9 years, they had this incredible coach, and they were really, really good. They were. And they decided to be an Alabama fan because that was opposite of what everybody else did. And now we've evolved here 15, 20 years later here into 2024. And now whenever you get in an actual football conversation with these people, they have nothing to offer, because the reason they became an Alabama fan to start with had nothing to do with actual football, and they don't actually love their team. Like it's sad to see them when they do win national championships, which hadn't happened in a while. 2020, that's getting to be about 4 or 5 years ago. You know when Georgia finally broke through and won their first national championship in 40 years, all that it meant to me as a true fan, all that it meant to my dad, people who've watched Georgia their whole lives and actually been a true fan, to actually see them come through and actually accomplish and win the national championship, how much it meant. And it's sad to see these people truly on the outside, they're on the outside celebrating and saying, "Roll Tide, Nick Saban, 117 national championships." But really on the inside, it doesn't mean anything to them, because they were never a true fan to begin with. Okay, I'm telling you right now, there are literally two types of Alabama fans. There are two types of Alabama fans. I'm gonna explain them right here to you right now. There are two types of Alabama fans. The first type of Alabama fan is the person that is just literally a complete redneck, completely has nothing going good for them in their lives except for Alabama football. These are the people that looked up and said they're going to be different than everybody else. Every other aspect of their lives was just complete trash. So they had to pick a football team to have something in their lives that was #1, that was the best, that was a great. These are the type of people. They're usually Jimmy Johnson fans. They're usually Los Angeles Lakers fans, and they're usually Los Angeles Dodgers fans. And they're fans of whoever is winning the championship that year. And they're complete and utter rednecks. They have absolutely no idea about anything going on in real life, in real time, or about football. Literally all they know is Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, and 18 national championships. 18. Does your team have 18 national championships? Let me go ahead and let you in on another little something about these 18 national championships. Do you know that the University of Alabama claims 18 national championships? They haven't actually been named national champions 18 times. Do you know that Bear Bryant died in the mid-1970s? And before that, Alabama didn't even claim half of these national championships. Bear Bryant died, and they felt like they were going to have like a big celebration of life for Bear Bryant. So they went back and they looked through the annals of time. I'm talking about like before the 1940s, or like half of these national championships they have. Back when they were wearing like leather helmets, back when they didn't even pass the ball. Okay, and they looked back and they seen every year that they had a good season, and they claimed that they were the national champions. Okay, Georgia Bulldogs, the Georgia Bulldogs, they went 13-1 last year. Okay, but they weren't the national champions. You can't just go back and claim you were a national champion every time you have a good year, and that's exactly what happened. I don't have time to go on this, and I'm telling you, I've literally looked up this stuff and researched it and read about the games. Alabama literally, and I know we're talking about the two types of Alabama fans right now, so I'm trying not to get too sidetracked. Alabama literally, they have, I mean, you can go back and look at this stuff. This is an absolute fact. I'm not just making this up. They have years where they claim that they're the national champion when they had 2 losses. They have years where they claim that they were the national champions where they did not even win their division. They have years where they claim national championships where they did not even win their conference. They have years claimed as national champions where they did not even win the major bowl game that they played in. Like, to be the national champion, like back then we didn't have the playoffs and all this and that. There were just the bowl games, and whoever was playing in the biggest bowl game was usually named the national champion. Alabama literally has years where they lost the major bowl game that they played in, and they claimed they were the national champions. They quite literally, guys, they quite literally went back and looked at every single year where they had a season where they went 10-2 or 11-1 and won a couple of good games, and they claimed that they were the national champion. The saddest thing about this is if you want to know the real truth, Alabama really does. They really actually do have like 11 or 12 national championships. They really do. Like, they really were the national champion that year. They really were the best team. They really didn't lose 2 games. They really did win their own division. They really did win the conference. And they really did win the bowl. They really were the national champions in 11 or 12 of these years. But they don't have 18 national championships. And don't ever let one tell you that they do, because they don't. You can go back and look at this stuff for yourself. I mean, I can't remember all the teams. One time they were like 10-2 and lost to Texas in a bowl game and didn't even win their division. And they claimed they're the national champion. It would quite literally be like, just say whatever team last year. I can't think of one off the top of my head. It would be like the Tennessee Volunteers going 12-2 and not even playing in the national championship game, and going back 60 years later and saying, "Oh, we were the national champions that year." National champion doesn't mean every year you had a good season. Georgia went 13-1 last year. They beat Florida State in the Orange Bowl 63-3. Their only loss was to Alabama in the SEC championship game. But they weren't the national champions. They didn't win their conference, which doesn't matter. You cannot win your conference these days because they allow like 64 teams to get in the playoff this day and time. But it's complete ridiculousness. All they know, and they really think they have 18 national championships. Like, they think they have 108. Alabama is the only team that I know of that has more national championships than years that they've actually even been playing college football. Like, they've been playing college football for, I don't know, 164 years, but Alabama somehow has 179 national championships. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And honestly, nothing with these people make any sense. I'm 28 years old. I spent 27 years of my life trying to figure out, like, I'm a very reasonable, logical thinker. I try to understand what's going on. I try to see what the facts are. I try not to judge too quickly before I understand what's going on. I have finally come to the realization, these people, everything that they do is for no rhyme. It's for no reason. It's just a complete pile of randomness and nonsense. Okay, I got off on the 18 national title tangent there. And that's all they can tell you. When you get in an actual football conversation, you start to say, wow, those lines of scrimmage really looked really good against Wisconsin last week. Like, y'all's nose guards, your defensive tackles were doing a good job putting pressure on that quarterback. They're like, Nick Saban, Bear Bryant, 18 national titles. It's like, what? What did you just say? What? It's like, man, y'all were, I know y'all ended up pulling away from South Florida late in that game, but y'all were tied 14-13 in the fourth quarter. They're steadily talking trash about Georgia having a close game with Kentucky when quite literally 6 days ago they were tied with South Florida in the fourth quarter. It's like they're completely delusional. It's like reality does not exist, and it doesn't in their minds. They have no clue about what they're talking about. But anyway, we're on the 2 types of Alabama fans. The one type is just a complete redneck piece of trash who has absolutely nothing going on in their lives except for Alabama Crimson Tide. That's the first type of fan. And if you're an Alabama fan, you literally, for 97% of the fan base, 97% falls into these 2 categories. The other 3% are normal people who are actually Alabama fans that actually have a tie or some sort of relationship to the university. They didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to be opposite of everybody else and pull for this team. You're either that type of fan, or number 2, you are the type of person in life that you are better than everybody else. You are completely stuck up. You have your nose 6 feet in the air. You can't see past your own self to see anybody else. You think that they think that they're the only things that matter. They're just stuck up, arrogant, ignorant people and completely prideful, and they think that you're trash, and that they walk upon the top of your heads. If you're an Alabama fan, for 97% of you, you're either those two type of people. You're a redneck, or you think you're better than everybody, and literally, it's almost like it's like a lifestyle thing with them. It's like, it's not actually about football. It's like it's a personality thing with them. It's like they already, in their real life, in their real world, already think that they're way above you. They already think that their poop don't stink. That they're just awesome and high and mighty and all this and that. So obviously, the football team that they root for is gonna be one that was number one. That was the high and mighty team. See, it's a personality thing. Their personality is the reason that they're an Alabama fan. I hope that makes sense a little bit to you. That's kind of confusing there. A lot of stuff they do is really confusing. I'm telling you right now, these people are steady talking about Georgia and Kentucky, when literally the previous week they were just tied with South Florida, and they go around talking about it like it's a good thing. They're like, I've seen people online comment and stuff saying, does everybody forget that Alabama had a close game against South Florida last year and they went on to beat Georgia in the SEC championship? I'm like, sir, are you trying to make me believe that it's somehow a good thing that you played a tight game with South Florida? Like, is that a good thing? I can't understand the way these people think and the way they talk, the way they act. That it's like every bit of common sense and every bit of reality, you just throw it out the window. Okay, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Can you imagine being born and raised in the state of Georgia? Your whole life, you were born in Middle Georgia. You were born in the state of Georgia, and you've been there your entire life, and you've been to the state of Alabama maybe like 3 or 4 times. You went to the lake one day, and then one day you had a distant cousin who had a bonfire, a family reunion, and you went over there one time for 2 hours, and you were born and raised in Georgia, and you've been in the state of Georgia your entire life. You've worked, you've lived, you've raised your kids, you have grandkids, you've paid taxes, you've held a job, you've held a job in the state of Georgia for 42 years. You've been here. You've lived at 3 different homes in Middle Georgia, North Georgia, and now back to Middle Georgia. You're literally, your whole life is built in the state of Georgia. Everything that you are is in the state of Georgia. You love your home, you love your family, you love your kids, you love the Lord. Your church is in Georgia. You're everything in your life is surrounded in the state of Georgia, but you're an Alabama fan. You root for Alabama. Like you live in Georgia, but you root so hard for Alabama. Like the football game is coming on, and you have to decipher between what is Eastern time and what is Central time. Because for those Alabama fans, I know that other fan bases, people who are watching this video, will understand what I'm saying. Alabama's time is an hour ahead of Georgia time. So like when it's 7:30 in Georgia, it's 6:30 in Alabama. I know that the Alabama fans watching this video, half of you, the redneck crowd, the ones that we talked about, the 2 types of Alabama fans, the redneck crowd, they don't even know how to count anyways. So they don't know the difference in that. They just wait till somebody tells them, "Hey, Alabama's on TV. You want to watch? Alabama's playing." Then they run over to the TV and act like they know what they're watching. It's a sad thing. And what's even sadder is all of a sudden Bama's got this. Now he is a really good receiver, Ryan Williams. He's a freshman, and he's number 2. And he actually is a really, really good wide receiver. And he's had a couple of touchdowns early in the season. And, Jalen Milroe's number 4. And this receiver, he's number 2. So now what happens is every time they score a touchdown, that's their new thing now. 4 + 2 = 6. Like, is that not the most Alabama thing you've ever heard in your life? They're celebrating by saying 4 + 2 = 6, like 6 points for a touchdown. Come on, you've got to be kidding me. I want to tell you about an actual conversation I just had with an Alabama fan probably 2 or 3 months ago. This is what actually come out of their mouth. I walk out in the yard. I won't say who it is. I walk out in the yard. It wasn't anybody closely related to me, so don't think I'm. This video is getting pretty offensive. It wasn't anybody closely related to me, but it was somebody that I am related to, very distantly. And I walk out in the yard, and they say, you know, I've got my Georgia stuff on every day, every week, all the time, and they walk out in the yard and I say, or they said, man, I tell you what, I can't wait till September 23rd. I said, oh yeah, I already knew what they were talking about. They were talking about the Georgia-Alabama game. I said, oh yeah, what happens on September 23rd? And said, oh well, they say, oh well, that's when September 23rd is when Georgia comes down there to play Alabama. They come down there to Tuscaloosa. I said, yeah. I said, don't you mean September 28th? September 23rd is like a random Monday or a Tuesday. They don't even know what they're talking about. Oh yeah. Is that when it is? Yeah, September 23rd. I started to wonder. I think it might have something to do with like the 3 and the 8 looking like similar numbers. You know, like the 3 and the 8 just kind of comes back around, and so I don't know if that is that a 3 or a 8. I can't wait till September 23rd when Georgia plays Alabama. I said, oh, you mean September 28th? Oh yeah, September 28th. The very next thing out of their mouth. Yeah, I'm interested to see what that I don't really know his name, that new coach they got, whoever he is. I'm interested to see what he's going to be able to do this season. I said, you mean Kalen DeBoer? Oh yeah, is that his name? Yeah. I'm interested to see what they don't know anything. They don't know the first thing. They can't even, like, if you showed them the state of Alabama on a map that just like didn't have any of the cities or any of the counties or anything, they wouldn't even be able to point within a 100-mile radius of where Tuscaloosa is on the map. Like they wouldn't even be able to show you. They only know 3 things: Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, and 18 national championships. Have you ever, for the past 3 years on my Facebook, when I post stuff, and you know, the crazy people that get in the comment section arguing, going on and on and on until 3 o'clock in the morning, I have really the last 3 years tried to stay away from that. I have tried to be nice. I have tried not to comment anything back. I've tried to just keep it at bay and just realize, it's like my dad said, you know, I used to feel bad for Alabama fans. I mean, excuse me. I used to hate Alabama fans. I used to hate them. And then one day I grew up and I realized that it's all they have. It's all they have. They live in a trailer somewhere on the border of the state of Alabama and the state of Georgia, and they have their overweight wife and their 2 retarded kids, and literally all they have is Alabama football. So just let them have it. So I try to stay out of the comment section arguing with these people because they're completely delusional to start with. They don't know what they're talking about, and it's just a never-ending thing. But over the past 3 years, I just kind of like laughed at what they said or hearted what they said, or said, okay, we'll see, you know, this and that, go Dogs. But this year, it's like the things that they say are so untrue and so far from the truth and so irrational and just not true, just simply not a fact. It's like they're just saying randomness that I have to get in there, and it's like I love the Dogs so much I had to get in there and like try to defend myself. And these people, I mean, literally 5 minutes later, I instantly regret arguing with any of them. Every one of them and it's only the Bama fans. Literally, Tennessee fans do not do this. Florida fans do not do this. Kentucky fans do not do this. LSU fans do not do this. It's nobody else. It's always the Bama fans saying the most off-the-wall crazy stuff. I will go in the comment section with these people and try to start like arguing about football and to say what is actually going on with football. And the next thing I know, somebody on the freaking Alabama Georgia state line is commenting something like 14 paragraphs long, talking about church and talking about putting Bible verses, talking about pride comes before the fall and all this and that, and I'm just like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, did you seriously take this there? Did you take that there? I cannot believe, and I'm just like, I don't even know why I got started. My dad and my wife, they're telling me like, son, just you can't argue with these people. They have no common sense. Like you can say things. I'm literally realizing that they don't have any emotions. Like you say stuff that's complete fact to them. That like if I said something that was not true and somebody corrected me on it, I'd feel like, oh wow, well I was wrong about that. Dang, that was kind of crazy of me to say. I'm kind of a little bit embarrassed that I was wrong. They don't have any emotion like that. Like they are beyond the ability of feeling of feeling dumb. They don't. You try to say something to them like, no, that's actually not what happened. This is what happened. You're completely wrong about that. And they don't say, oh, you know, they don't have the ability to feel stupid. That's just how they are. I don't know how else to explain it. I hate it if that's rude, but it's just like I said, everything that I'm saying today is just a straight fact. This is like there's scientific proof to back it up. This is just how they are. You get on there and you try to argue with them, and you're talking about like football and like line of scrimmage, and the next thing you know, they're trying to argue about your dang sister that slapped her mama back at the family reunion 13 years ago, and you know, putting Bible verses and talking about, you know, that ain't funny to talk like that. That Uncle Leroy is still addicted to alcohol, and it's like, hold on a minute, you just took this to like a whole new solar system. Like I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. Like have a good day, go Dogs. I'm literally praying for you. I am literally praying for your health, and I am also praying also that you will lose 4 football games this year. I hope that Tennessee beats you. I hope that Missouri beats you. Nobody in this world deserves a loss and heartbreak like the Alabama fans. I have heard I know this video sounds so mean and this and that. I'm 28 years old. I have heard for my entire life. All that I have heard is such craziness and trash talk from the Bama crowd. I have heard my whole life. They have said the most off the wall crazy stuff about Georgia. Georgia ain't never gonna be this. Georgia ain't gonna never be that. Georgia can beat everybody but Alabama. Oh my goodness. It don't matter what happens. Even when we lose the game, it don't matter. It didn't count. We are number one. Every year we're the national champion. Even this year, they'll go 9-3 this year, and they'll say, well, really, that game wasn't fair because of that call, and really, we should have been in that game, so really, we were the national champion. Nobody deserves to lose more than they do. Nobody. It's literally to the point, I'm getting to a point in my life where I'm really not even hating them anymore. I feel bad. I feel sorry that you live like this. I don't want to argue anymore. Like, I want to give you a hug. I want to talk about what may be going on in your life that is causing you to be like this. And it drives me up the wall. They don't want to talk about it. They just want to fight. They don't want to talk about their problems. They want to fight. They want to fight. And I'm going to tell you something right now. If you want to know what gets to them more than anything, and I'm talking about more than anything, what they cannot stand. See, the Bama fans, here's the deal. Really, they hate Georgia more than they like Alabama. So they're rooting for Georgia to lose more than they're rooting for Alabama to win. They are just watching. And somebody got on there the other day and told me they hadn't watched a Georgia game in years. But they told me that they hadn't watched a Georgia game in years. A Bama fan. Now you know how much they watching Georgia hoping we lose. You know how big of a Kentucky fans Bama was last weekend. But in their comment, they were talking about something that Kirby said in his post-game press conference. I'm a Georgia fan. I'm the biggest Georgia fan you've ever met. And I didn't even watch the post-game press conference. Now you're trying to tell me that you didn't even watch. You're trying to tell me that you ain't watched a Georgia game in years, but you did watch this game, and you even watched Kirby Smart's post-game press conference. That doesn't sound like somebody that hadn't watched a Georgia game in years. That sounds like somebody who's watching Georgia, hoping and praying that they lose, and it just will not happen. It just will not happen. This is what they can't stand more than anything. They can't stand seeing Georgia as top dog. They can't stand turning on College Game Day and hearing the national media talk about even if Georgia lost 2 games this year, they're still the best team in the country. Even if they lose, even if Alabama beats Georgia in Tuscaloosa, and even if Georgia loses to Texas, if Georgia manages to lose a game or 2 this year, I still got them penciled in as the best team in the country. Nobody can beat them. Nobody can do anything with them. You want to talk about the Kentucky game? How about let's talk about the fact that Georgia in their last 51 games is 49-2. 49 wins and 2 losses. Let's talk about the fact that Georgia just won their 28th consecutive SEC game in the regular season. Let's talk about the fact that Georgia just won their 42nd consecutive regular season football game. In the last 3.5 or 4 years, Georgia in the regular season is currently 42-0. They haven't lost. I know they lost last year to Alabama in the SEC championship game. I know that. I know that we went down there with half a team. We didn't have Brock Bowers, the best tight end in college football history. We didn't have Ladd McConkey, the best white wide receiver to ever play college football. We didn't have 2 of our offensive, well, One of our offensive linemen was out as a starter, Amarius Mims. He went like top 10 in the NFL draft. He was out. Our starting linebacker, Jamon Dumas Johnson, was out. I mean, we were like completely just, it wasn't even a fair game. I mean, we literally did not even have our players on the field. And on top of that, Georgia played like absolute trash. Georgia was terrible. We couldn't even snap the ball. We were trying to hand the ball off and do this stuff. We couldn't even get the snap right. We couldn't even get the mesh point right. We're fumbling the ball, giving Alabama the ball inside the 15-yard line. And even with Nick Saban, it was literally all they could do to barely scrape by Georgia 27-24. I mean, when Georgia's missing half their players and they play the worst game they've played in 2.5 years, Alabama is still barely scraping by 27-24. And you know, the last time they actually played, when both teams were healthy and this and that mattered, you know, when they played the game that actually mattered, you know, the national championship, how'd that one turn out? You know, it's sad to me that Nick Saban's last national championship he's ever going to play in, he lost to Georgia by more than 2 touchdowns. I had some crazy Alabama fan commenting on my Facebook when Georgia and Alabama played in the national championship in 2021, and they were literally telling me, I'm telling you right now, I don't bet money. I don't do those things anymore. I don't believe in those things. I don't believe in betting. I used to. But I don't bet anymore. I'm not betting money. I'm telling you, this guy was literally, this is exactly what he told me. He said, I will give Georgia 21 points, and I'll bet you $500 Alabama still beats them. I told him, I said, brother, I said, I don't bet. I said, but I know plenty of people that if you say that to, they'll raise you up to $1,000. They'll bet $10,000. Do not go into this game and try to bet somebody and give Georgia 3 touchdowns. And I feel bad for him, and I tried to steer him in the right direction, but he won't listen. And nope, Alabama's going to beat them 65-3. Yeah, I know it. I already know it. They're going to cover the spread 4.5 times. It's like, brother, don't do that. And then Georgia ends up beating them by 15 points. You know, we beat them by more than 2 touchdowns, a reasonable score, 33-18. And no matter what they say, you know, Nick Saban this, Nick Saban that, he's the greatest head coach of all time. It's sad that he'll always be remembered. Like, his legacy will always be in the last chance he had to win the national championship. Georgia beat them 33-18. I mean, just dominated them. I mean, just skull drug them. Just beat them up and down the field for 3.5 hours. And then what's even more sad, another part of it, and then the next part of his legacy is going to be in 2023, Georgia was the best team in the country, unstoppable. Nobody could beat them. So we purposely let them win the game, the SEC championship game, and we tried to give Nick Saban one more final chance. You know, because Kirby Smart really respects Nick Saban. Okay, you know, according to the Bama fans, you know, Nick Saban is the reason for Kirby Smart. Like, Nick Saban gave birth to Kirby Smart. Like, he nurtured him. Nick Saban breastfed Kirby Smart. And he's his like mother and dad at the same time. And the only reason that Georgia's having any success is because of Alabama. You know, and the only reason that Texas is so good right now is because of Alabama. Like, anything good that happens in football is because of Alabama. But we felt so bad for them, and we felt so bad that Nick Saban was retiring, that Kirby tried to let him have another chance at a national title, but they scoffed that one away, and they couldn't even beat Michigan to get into the national championship game. Like, they got a free ride into the playoffs, and they couldn't even beat Michigan. Like, what happened the last time Georgia played Michigan? Georgia beat them like 34-3. It was like 34-11. Michigan scored with like 10 seconds left in the game. It was an absolute. Georgia could have beat them 50-0 if they wanted to. We were trying to get to the title game, and Bama just couldn't do it. You know, you remember when Bama in that game last year, they were playing Michigan, and it was down to Bama was at the 2-yard line, and they had tried to run like 6 plays in a row. The referees were throwing flags, giving them first downs, trying to do anything they could to get them in this national championship game. The national media wanted the rematch of Alabama versus Texas, and it backfired on them, and neither team won. And Alabama called like 4 timeouts in a row and had us on commercial break for like 6 minutes. And they line up, and we're thinking they're going to run some great design play and win this game. And they just run Jalen Milroe right up the butt crack of the center. And he just runs into the back of his offensive lineman, gives himself a concussion, and just falls on the ground. And it was just the ugliest, most pitiful thing I've ever seen. And I hate it that that's going to be Nick Saban's legacy. That the last time he played a real team in a national championship game, they blew the doors off of him. And then Georgia tried to give them a chance at another national championship for Nick Saban's retirement party, but they couldn't even beat Michigan. I'm telling you right now, when Georgia comes down there to Tuscaloosa, we're going to see what Nick Saban and Bev Bryant and 18 national titles is going to do anything to be able to help you in this game. God help you. God rest your souls. You think that Georgia having a close game with Kentucky has anything to do with this football game? One of these days, and Georgia fans included, okay, because so many Georgia fans are talking about fire Mike Bobo, this and that. One day you guys are going to learn. One of these days, you guys are going to learn that Kirby Smart does these things on purpose. Do you think that Kirby Smart wanted to go into a bye week and then going on the road to play Alabama by beating Kentucky 42-17 and having the players think that they're number one and we can't be beat and being arrogant and all this and that? You go down there acting like that and Bama will beat you. Kirby Smart did this on purpose. I don't think he did it to that extent. I think they messed around a little bit too much. But come on, guys. Georgia didn't just go from blowing the doors off Clemson. Georgia didn't just go from winning 42 regular season games in a row. Georgia has as many national championships in the last 3 years as they do losses. They have 2 losses and they have 2 national championships. Now, do you actually think, after you just watched 2 weeks ago Georgia blow the doors off Clemson, that that's all Georgia had against Kentucky? We were running the ball up the middle, running the ball to the left off the tackle, running the ball to the right off the... Georgia, in that game, now this is fact, Georgia attempted 4 passes for more than 10 yards in that game. It was orchestrated. It was on purpose. Like, Bama fans are running around celebrating because Georgia was dropped from number 1 to number 2. And they don't even realize that this is not what they want. Like, this is not what you want. You do not want Georgia to be dropped down to number 2 and Kirby to have 2 weeks of film on a game where they barely won by 1 point on the road. This is not what you want. These players are going to have Kirby's full 2 weeks of undivided attention. And they're going to come in there like with their freaking hair on fire. And you're going to realize that game and your 175 national championships ain't going to be able to do nothing to help you. Jalen Milroe ain't going to be able to say Roll Tide enough to do anything to help him when he's got Jalen Walker and Gabe Harris and Nazir Stackhouse and Raylan Wilson and CJ Allen and Malachi Starks and just breathing fire down his neck. There's not going to be anything you can do to help yourselves. I'm telling you right now, this one's been circled for a long time. These coaches, Kirby talks about, last year ain't got nothing to do with anything. This is a new mission. Come on, I'm going to tell you something right now. Ever since Kirby lost to Bama last year in that SEC championship game, it's been on the back of his mind, just like it's been on the back of every Georgia fan's mind. And honestly, give credit to Alabama. This is where I'll give a little bit of credit to Alabama. The last few times they've played, Alabama is literally, they have won 5 and Georgia has won 1. Okay, so Bama has beaten 5. Okay, I wasn't going to say it, but I know the Alabama fans don't know this, but I'll let them in on a little something that I shouldn't tell them because they'll take off and run with it. Actually, in the last 9 games, Alabama has won 8 and Georgia has only won 1 time. The thing about it is, what I try to explain to them that they don't listen to. Can you just imagine that Kirby Smart is at his first head coaching job ever at Georgia? And in his second year, he's competing with Nick Saban for national championships in 2017. I mean, Tyler Simmons was on sides. The referees come back after the game in that national championship game. Tyler Simmons was on sides. They said they made a mistake. And even with that mistake, even with Bama not getting that blocked punt that would have put Georgia up 3 scores with like a couple minutes left in the fourth quarter, they still needed a miracle play to win that game. And I say, guys, they act like, oh, we got you. You won the game, but you should have won the game. At this point, Nick Saban's been a head coach for 25 years. Nick Saban has been a head coach at LSU. He's been a head coach. He's been a coach for the Miami Dolphins. He's been a head coach at 4 or 5 different places. And not only that, he's been a head coach and won multiple national championships at Alabama. Everybody wants to act like Alabama, Georgia's built by Bama. It's starting to seem to me like Alabama was built by Kirby. Ever since Kirby left, y'all are steadily going downhill and continuing down that downhill slope. I know all the Bama fans are all proud and stuff this day and time because, they think they got a good team still. They think the legacy is going to continue when they have nothing to go off of. I mean, they beat Western Kentucky. They beat South Florida barely. And I know the Bama fans are going to go Google the final score of that game and say, what? We beat them like 42-13. What's he talking about? Yeah, you just have to watch the game. They were tied with like 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. It was a close game. I mean, they almost come down there and beat you. You know, they were physicaling you up on the lines of scrimmage. Their quarterback was just running all over you. Their defensive line was just getting after Jalen Milroe. I don't know what you think's going to happen when you can't even stop South Florida. What are you going to do when the Georgia Bulldogs come down there? And then they went up there and played a terrible, and I do mean a terrible, Wisconsin team. Now, all these games they won. They won by more than 3 touchdowns. Congratulations. But you're about to face a different animal here. This isn't Wisconsin, and this isn't South Florida, and this isn't Western Kentucky. This is the Georgia freaking Bulldogs. They've got the best coaching staff in the country. They've got the best players in the country. They've got the best program in the country. And they are currently number 1, and that is what the Bama fans cannot stand. I don't care if the rankings put Georgia down at number 2 and put Texas at number 1. It don't matter. It don't matter. They could come on there and they could put Georgia at number 63, and it ain't going to be able to do nothing to help you come Saturday night. I'm telling you right now. This one has been circled for a long time, okay? And Georgia is about to come down there and absolutely donkey stomp the Crimson Tide. It is going to be ugly. It is going to be ugly. We're going to do the same thing to Alabama as we did to Ole Miss last year. What was it, 52-17? We're going to do the same thing to Alabama that we did to Kentucky last year, 51-13. It's going to be ugly. Okay, they're going to destroy them. A lot of people's going to say, I don't know, man. I mean, I'd be happy to beat Alabama by 1 point at this stage. We've had such bad luck against them. I'd be glad to just go in there and it's going to be ugly. Okay, it's going to be like Georgia's going to win by 3 touchdowns. Ugly. It just is. It just is. Nothing that other people may look at Bama this year and might be scared of their little offense they got going. It doesn't scare me. Like there's nothing to go off of. Like you played Western Kentucky and South Florida and Wisconsin. Here's the deal with Kalen DeBoer. He's got a team right now that's been built by Nick Saban. Alabama's built like Georgia, big physical lines of scrimmage, huge players. You know they're built to be a bully ball SEC offense, run the ball, play good defense, and take shots whenever the defense creeps up, try to stop the run. And now you've got Kalen DeBoer with a SEC-built team trying to coach them like a West Coast team. Okay, this isn't Oregon. Okay, this isn't Washington. You guys are not built to do the things you're doing, and it's not going to fare well. It's been so obvious. Bama's 3-0. It is so obvious that they have completely lost their discipline. They have completely lost their physicality. They do not come up in strike blocks. They do not come up in strike ball carriers. They're all flash. That's why they look so terrible. And all of a sudden, for 4 plays, Jalen Milroe's getting sacked. And then all of a sudden they throw a 75-yard touchdown pass because Kalen DeBoer's little West Coast offense hits a spark every now and then, and they score a touchdown on South Florida and Western Kentucky and Wisconsin. And that's just not going to fly against Georgia, okay? It's just not going to fly against Georgia. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen because I know this video is getting kind of long. I'm going to go back and watch this video and think of 40 other things I should have said, 40 other points I had to make. But it's sad, y'all. I mean, I feel bad for y'all. I feel bad for y'all personally, on a personal level. But come Saturday night, I'm not going to feel bad. Nobody deserves it more than you. Georgia's going to come down there and absolutely donkey stomp you. Kirby's going to come down there and show you that Bama was built by Kirby. Okay, there's not gonna be nothing. Nick Saban's been sitting up in the stands so mad he can see how he can see it coming down the tracks. Nick Saban looked up and seen the writing on the wall and he retired so fast. He looked up and seen that Georgia was coming to Tuscaloosa in week 5 and he retired so freaking fast. I'm telling you, could you imagine a team? The song that they play at home games is a song about the beautiful state of Tennessee. Could you just rolling down backwood, Tennessee byway. One arm on the wheel, hold my lover with the other on a Tennessee Saturday night. Like, guys, your delusion has reached. The song that you play at home games is a song about the state of Tennessee, which is one of your biggest rivals in the SEC. My dad already said he cannot wait. I cannot wait, and he cannot wait to watch the Alabama fans funneling out of the stadium, leaving in the middle of the third quarter, when Georgia is beating them 41-16. And they're literally, the Bama fans are leaving the stadium as they're playing My Dixieland Delight. Spend my dollar Parking hotter underneath the mountain moonlight. It's a song about the state of Tennessee, you morons. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, and I got to end the video. Come Saturday night, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be... It's College Game Day is going to be there. Okay, Reese Davis, Kirk Herbstreit, Desmond Howard, Nick Saban, Pat McAfee. They're going to be in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, on the scene to get ready to watch the Georgia Bulldogs, to watch the best team in the country go play the Alabama Crimson Tide. And it's going to be the biggest. It's going to be the biggest. I hate to say this. It's going to be the biggest butt kissing fest you ever seen in your entire life. The whole entire day is going to be. You already know what it's going to be. It's going to be Nick Saban is back in Tuscaloosa, where he won 75 national championships, and Nick Saban is on College Game Day now, hosting the Georgia Bulldogs. It's like, who's the coach? Is Kalen DeBoer the coach, or is Nick Saban the coach? They're still paying that. They're still paying Nick Saban $500,000 just to have a desk down there. You know he's still working down there. You think you think this is Kirby Smart versus Kalen DeBoer? You're crazy. This is still Kirby Smart versus Nick Saban. Nick Saban is down there still doing scratching and clawing and recruiting and doing everything he can to keep this program afloat. They're like a dang cork just floating on top of the water, and they're going under, son. They're going under. There's nothing they can do to stop it. They're going to be leaving the stadium in the third quarter, and while they're playing Dixieland Delight, and as Georgia's got their second and third string running backs in, still running all over that unphysical Alabama team. But anyway, College Game Day is going to be there. It's going to be the biggest butt-kissing fest you've ever seen. The whole day is going to be about the University of Alabama. The whole day is going to be about Nick Saban. You know how on game day they come by and like everywhere they're at, they bring them like really, really good food from the best places around in the area. Like they were if they go to South Carolina, like they're bringing them all this fancy food, all this wonderful Southern cooking. When they go up north, they're bringing them like all this northern cooked food and types of pastas and different stuff. And just they go to LSU and they're bringing them like these big old things of Creole food and all this and that. And it's just, they're going to, I guess when they come to Tuscaloosa, they're going to be bringing them by like big old trays of pizza rolls and corn dogs and zebra cakes and ho-hos and ding-dongs and, funnel cakes and stuff. That's what they're going to have to eat on the whole day is going to be a butt-kissing fest. The whole day is going to be about Nick Saban and the great state of Alabama, that big old giant mud hole down there where like 14 people live. And all the Alabama fans actually live in Georgia, and all they talk about is wanting to get over to Alabama. Well, I don't know why they don't go ahead and get over there. Like, there's only 14 people that live there. There's plenty of land. There's plenty of mud holes to go soak in. It's going to be all about the University of Alabama, and it's going to be the biggest, because Georgia and Bama ain't playing until 7:30 at night. So it's going to be an all-day occasion. It's going to be an all-day. Both fan bases are going to be watching and waiting. And it's going to be, we're both going to be nervous, and it's going to be all day long. We're going to have to wait. And the whole day around College Game Day is just going to be praising Alabama and everything that they've done. And what it's going to do to those fans is everybody around that area, everybody around the stadium, everybody watching at home, the team, the coaches, they're all going to start to feel like America's on their side. They're all going to start to maybe even hope a little bit. They're even going to start to believe that they can beat the Georgia Bulldogs today. They're going to feel like the whole world's on their side. They got College Game Day there. Nick Saban's up there dancing around with Pat McAfee. Oh my gosh, it's just the greatest day ever. We got Kalen DeBoer on the stage talking about this West Coast offense and how many flags Alabama's racked up and how unphysical they are. And everybody's going to be so just gushy and happy. And it's just going to be the biggest butt-kissing fest you've ever seen. And then come around 7:30 at night, the stadium's going to be packed with people who are either complete rednecks or people who thinks their poop don't stink. And they're going to be in there packed all in there together like a bunch of sardines singing about the state of Tennessee. And then Alabama's going to run out on the field. And the crowd's going to go crazy. And it's going to seem like this electric environment. And the announcers are going to be like, wow, Georgia's coming into a real snake pit here. And they're going to believe that they're about to beat Georgia. And all this hope is going to be built up over the course of the whole day, from College Game Day through the noon games. And the whole stadium is going to believe at that point that they got them. And when Bama runs out on the field, they're going to be so excited. Boom! And then the smoke's going to fly. And then the sparks are going to fly. And the crowd is going to go from going to all of a sudden you're going to hear all at once a giant boo. and there's gonna be the biggest boo you've ever heard across the entire continental U.S. Okay, the whole state of Alabama, there's gonna be an earthquake whenever the Bama fans boo, and all of a sudden, the announcer says, "And here comes the #1 team in the country, regardless of ranking, Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs." And every single bit of that hope, and every single bit of that belief that you built up all day long is going to completely disintegrate in about 16 seconds as George is running out on the field and you see in the players' faces that they are there on a business trip. When you see in Kirby Smart's face, and they stick the mic in Kirby Smart's face and says, "Kirby, what have you told the guys coming in here? Know you had a close game against Kentucky last week. What do you say when you come in here playing a better team in Alabama on the road in Tuscaloosa?" He's going to say, "I told them we're going to hunt." And I'm telling you, there ain't going to be nothing that 18 national titles, there ain't going to be nothing that Nick Saban or Corn Dogs or Trailer Park Tornadoes or anything in the world can do to save you. Because I'm telling you what's going to happen. They're going to build up all this hype around Alabama the whole day long. They're going to build up all this hype around Nick Saban. They're going to build up all this hype around Tuscaloosa and the whole university. And I'm telling you, it's all going to be taken away in an instant. And then what's going to happen is they're actually going to line the players up on the field and they're going to kick the ball off. And Georgia is going to absolutely freaking destroy everything and anything. They're going to come down there and rip your heart out of your chest. It's not going to be close. I know you're going to watch 100 things this week. You're going to watch 100 analysts break down the game. You know, I literally come on here and told you that Georgia was going to blow the doors off Clemson. That's what happened. I literally told you that Georgia was going to play a close game against Kentucky. Now, I didn't think it was going to be that close. Georgia and Kentucky is always a hard-fought physical game. Now, I'm telling you right now, I don't care what anybody else tells you, Georgia is going to come down there and absolutely, Bama is going to push a paper plate to the 50-yard line and take a giant poop on it. And Georgia is going to be all over you. They're going to be on you worse than like you on your stepsister. They're going to be on you. They're going to be on you worse than like a mustard stain on a Dale Jr. t-shirt in a trailer park in the state of Alabama. They are going to absolutely destroy you. It's not going to be close. You know, I always give a final preview and a final score prediction at the end of the video. I'll be honest with you, I have not even thought about this score prediction. I'm coming up with this on the fly. And anybody knows that if you get a score prediction dead on the head, it was just complete luck. The score predictions are just an overall general idea of how you think the game's going to go. I'm thinking on the fly here what I think the final score is going to be. Whatever it is going to be, it's not going to be pretty. Okay, it's going to be the most heartbreaking day. Bama fans across the state, the hospitals are going to be filled with people having heart palpitations and stuff because they're not going to be able to understand why that they're not the best team in the country anymore, and that they really thought they had a chance. Like College Game Day was here, everybody was on our side, and then Georgia just come down here and snatched our heart out of our chest and stomped a mud hole in our butts, and then stomped it dry, and then stomped it again until it was wet again and grew corn. And Kirby Smart's gonna walk out of there as the king of college football. Kirby Smart's been the king of college football since 2021, and there's gonna be nothing you can do about it. You're just gonna watch in horror. And there's going to be nothing you can do about it. Georgia's going to go down there and beat Alabama 41-24. You heard it here first.